If you're a regular viewer to the show, you know we've had the Perley Health Foundation had a wonderful campaign running. Of course, you can continue to donate to Perley Health, but now we get to talk about more the facility itself and the big news that overnight accommodations are back, and I am joined by Katrin Spencer. She's the Director of Senior Living, Portfolio and Community Programs over there at Perley Health. Welcome to the show, Katrin.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, the facility obviously was affected greatly by the pandemic. Residents and the, of course, the healthcare workers, the wonderful team you have over there. Tell me about the effects that the pandemic had on the facility.
Yeah, let me tell you about it. The Respite House was actually forced to close during the pandemic. So it was closed for close to 1,000 days.
Really?
And we're really happy actually to be able to share now that we're open again for overnight stay because the pandemic has been really hard for many of us, but especially for caregivers in the community, because you spend a lot of time providing essential care for your loved ones without having respite. This can be a huge challenge. So being able to say we are open again for overnight respite, that's a huge, huge milestone.
Yeah, and I think we forget, when we concentrate a lot on the residents and, of course, the services and programs available, and oftentimes we forget the caregivers, right? And it's a full-time job for many of them. But, programs and services are a big part of what you do as well. Tell me about what you offer to residents.
Yeah, so in the Respite House, it's actually a standalone bungalow, 12 bedrooms, and it's very home-like. And the feedback we're getting, this is what really caregivers and their loved ones really appreciate about it. When I walk into the Respite House, it opens up just like your own home into a big living room, huge ceilings, fireplace, a piano, a fish tank, etc. So really, you're like your own living room. You have a kitchen where you cook your own meals, and surrounded by these common areas where everybody can socialize. 12 bedrooms.
Right.
12 bedrooms with ensuite bathrooms, so people can socialize. Again, this has been a big gap during the pandemic, but if you need some time to retreat, you have your own private bedroom where people can stay overnight as well. There's a lot of programs going on to activities, discussions, exercise programs, cooking together. So a lot of stimulation, social activities, which is a big part for people living with dementia.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So for the most part, you find many of your residents living with dementia. I imagine some of them have mobility issues just from some of the exercises that I was seeing. And that gives them an opportunity to live a fulfilling life still, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the guests we welcome at the Respite House, these are individuals who live with early to mid-stage dementia. So they live at home with their caregivers. They need some curing, remembering some items, but usually they're pretty independent with some of the daily activities of living, like personal care. But coming to Respite House provides us social stimulation and also activities that they might lack back at home. And at the same time, I think what's really important to mention is it gives caregivers time to relax. Run some appointments, do a medical or dentist appointment, or again, to the point that we are back open overnight, go away for a weekend, get some uninterrupted sleep and time to recharge the batteries.
Yeah, and the history of Perley is steeped in helping veterans, and that's still a big part of what you do. It's my understanding you set aside a bed for a veteran.
Absolutely, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we have a long history at Perley House to care for veterans, and this is with the support of Veterans Affairs Canada, and it is reflected in the guest house and the Respite House as well. One bed, again with support from Veterans Affairs Canada, is dedicated to veterans, and there's no co-payment required.
Okay.
To stay if people who are coming from the community. It is a government-funded program. However, there is a co-payment for veterans. With the support from Veterans Affairs Canada, they can stay for free. Another
partnership you have is with Care4. Tell me about that partnership.
Absolutely, yeah. Perley Health really seeks to partner with organizations who are aligned with our values of compassion and respect, to go beyond healthcare, to provide support to seniors and veterans, live in the community, thrive in the community. So Care4, they're actually providing the care to the guests at the Respite House. Okay. And they're leading the application process, the assessment, etc., and the referral process.
Yeah, and we spoke about the pandemic and the challenge, of course, for residents and for caregivers, but I imagine that the caregiver, the healthcare workers, I should say, that are part of Perley Health, I mean, a challenging time for them as well, wasn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. It has been a really challenging time for many healthcare workers, not just at Perley Health, broader in the Ottawa area. However, we are really seeing that people are back in the spirits, staff is back in the spirits. If you go to the Respite House right now, you see actually like a scarecrow, to really be in the spirit of the fall, of Thanksgiving. I'm sure Christmas is coming around, so you really see spirits are again raised and people are getting through the hard stages of the pandemic. And I think we're all really happy to kind of be where we're at right now at this stage.
I'm glad you mentioned the holidays because I wondered about that. It's also an opportunity to gather because you mentioned how the social part of it is such an important component, and those holiday celebrations, they can do it right there at Perley.
Absolutely, yeah. And as I said, staff is right in the spirits. We're decorating the entire Respite House. If you would walk in there, as I said, right now, it's still filled with Thanksgiving, fall type of items. But Christmas is around the corner. And again, caregivers and their loved ones really enjoy it. For instance, we have one guest staying with us at the Respite House. She has a huge passion for music.
Okay.
She walks in. She walks straight to the piano. She actually writes her own music as well, but she plays piano. She's beaming with joy. People start dancing, singing, and her husband, primary caregiver, says actually, when he sees her in this environment, she's just her old self again. And I can just imagine during the Christmas season.
For sure. What a great story.
Exactly.
Thanks for sharing. Really appreciate it. We'll be back with more after this.